Oh, hi. So we met for the second session of our contemporary literature discussion, and I'm like, wow, I enjoyed it for the first time when I was really making some sense in contributing to the discussion. Frankly speaking, the feminism and the feminist writing doesn't come so uh, natural to me because when I look at the poet, when I look at the poetry, it's more like an impression of a person more than a gender specific. It is more like an expression that comes out of a writer. And for me, writer is not having or holding any special gender or any special concession to be given or any impact on him about his gender or about his demographics or about his or her particulars of circumstances. For me, poetry is something which is very, very kind of cause, which is very, very kind of expression, which is kind of very statement, which is raw, which is open to all, which is open for discussion, which is open for analysis, and at the same time, which is closed for anybody to get into it and commenting. So we had very thoughtful interactions today, and I am a little bit nervous about it all because this particular poetry session, this particular class, this particular research session which we have on Sundays, it sees us all best in our element. Element in the sense, I'm going towards my Monday routine, then I'm getting all decked up for what am I going to do next week. Let me have some more rest, let me figure out whether everything is in order, and also my mind is a little bit compartmentalized towards those ends. And for them, it's Sunday morning. So it's Sunday morning for them, so they are seen like having their cornflakes, having their breakfast, having their little bit funny side up, and I'm like, wow. So it's a hell lot of contrast and variety. So today when we begin, I have confessed to everyone that this Elizabeth Browning, she comes to me as a darling, but at the same time, for me, a woman is always overshadowed by the spouse, by the lover, by the male version of the art or the dominance that presides over her, and that I see no fault with it. I mean, the women's nature is to write or is to create in a very kind of protected zone. I mean, I don't want anybody to be rebelling or being a taslima nasreen. I mean, it's very, very kind of art which talks about being safeguarded against any kind of illusions, any kind of misconceptions that become as a woman writing at her own or expressing at her own without having grounds to talk about. Then she can as well make a fool of herself. That's where I come from. So for me, Elizabeth Browning, when she writes, when she creates Robert Lee, what was that? Aurora Leigh. So for me, it was like a sentiment of a woman coming alive. I mean, I could relate to the particular poem in order that I am also a woman. When I stepped out, when I decided to go solo, when I decided, okay, I am going to be the master of my destiny, it was like doubts not in my mind, but in other people's mind. Being a poet in the same context is like you are raising a challenge against the social norms, against the people, against the society, against the segment of the audience who will never understand what being poet is. Like, for example, I would never understand if somebody tells me he or she writes a poetry for a living. For me, it's like a pastime. I mean, I write poetry because whenever I have time, I have love and passion for these words, and I get into it, and that's where the poem comes from. I don't have any literature background to say I am a poet. I don't have that credential. I don't have that qualification, and I don't want to have one actually. So when she must have started writing, and I also believe that when it comes to intellectual pursuits, when it comes to writing, when it comes to composing, when it becomes to being an artist, in the back end, what has happened in your life, what is your story, what is your uh, lighthouse, where you were being there and where you have started from, is something which decides the pattern, decides the destiny of what you're up to. So when this Elizabeth Browning's character, this Aurora Leigh, she gets orphaned at a very young age, and she went to live with her aunts, and that's where she steps into Victorian segment of the society where she grows up. She is born to a British father and an Italian mother. So there is a cultural difference, and when she is sent away to the father's sister in England, so the stiff, tight-lipped British people, they want the women to submit to some certain patterns, some certain standards of being a woman. So intellectuals and scholars, or the writers, or the artists, or especially if they are the women folks, they come across as a kind of very liberal. I mean, they cannot put up with the social norms. They cannot put up with anything which prevents them to think like what they have the gift in themselves. So we had this strange conversation flowing in the direction that what it is like to be an artist, what makes an artist. So we had this discussion going on, the inner calling. What is that inner calling? So they were like interpreting it as Christianism, as like a kind of religion, pattern, beliefs, and all that. So the question came to my end, and I was very prolific to say that. See, I see this Elizabeth Browning, when she writes this piece, I don't see her as a woman. I don't see her as a feminist. I don't see her as somebody fighting for the civil rights or actually making fuss about it, what is being done to her as a woman to come up as a poet, come as a writer. It is just that this is an inner call. I mean, she has a talent sitting inside her. She has that strong call. She has that direction which is already in her being, which is already in her DNA. And she is simply following the pattern. So we cannot say that she is talking a lot deep into something which is to do with the being a woman or being not a woman, being in society, being not in society. So it is more like answering your inner call. It is more like giving a befitting answer to what you have in you, the talent, the creativity, an urge to deliver on your literary gifts. So she's working on that. And the gifts are so strong, the pull is so strong, this is asking her to act, and she is acting. So I think that's her inner call, and that's where she's coming from. I think that was one round of applause I got from Professor Devlina. She was like floored. She liked what I said, and I could look at her face, and she said, so being a child, I used to think this way. I mean, I saw her as a woman in my first reading. So this is exactly, I thought, is there somebody who thinks the similar way? So maybe she got me. I really thought her way. So see, this is being the artist. One thinks, but one has already thought. So there is something which we are expressing, something which we are grinding to put together. It's always there. People are just sitting there in groups. People are just sitting across the borders. They are just interconnecting the tweets. They're just making the things work. They're just simplifying it for the others. Women's freedom when it comes to writing is again a big question mark. I mean, yes, when a woman steps out of her secure system, when she comes out and she thinks that she's going to take the world by storm with her talents and all, it's just one-sided affair. It doesn't happen this easy. I mean, the money doesn't come so easy. The career doesn't come so easy. The accomplishments don't just fall like Newton's apple. It doesn't happen. It's a lot hell price that has to go into it. You have to actually be paying the price. And the price is not in terms of money. Price in terms of your mind. That has to churn out. It has to work 24/7 if you are coming from an intellectual background. And if you're not just killing time if you have really something sitting inside you, the bird sitting inside you, caged and willing to come out and have its say on the platform, to show itself up and own it up. That's about women's freedom, and price has to be paid. And exactly I see Elizabeth Browning doing it with her character. She has to make a living. She has to have all kind of messing ups that we women can go about. I mean, I am a woman. When I have to write, I don't write just pick up the words from the library, or just I don't pick up any book and write blurry something. I have to go through a series of experiences. I have to fall in love. I have to learn my toughest lessons. I have to have a fall. I have to slog 24 hours. I have to go empty stomached at times. I have to have just survive on nothing but myself. Similarly, I see the other women writing. I mean, yes. But that's the beauty of the freedom of mind. You sit somewhere, you have your medium, you have your thoughts, you jot down. That's it. That's it. And that's where the lady is coming when she's denying all sort of physical, monetary help coming in from the willing male prospects who would like to marry her, who would like to be with her, who would like to own her up, who would like to be her, be besotted with them and vived and all. Yeah. And this is all about being a woman, and being a women writer, being a women poet, being a poet is what we are exploring. So we are meeting again, talking about karmic theory, talking about feminism, and just having some literary sound times. I take your leave now. Bye-bye.